There are several tug-of-wars going on in our young democracy, and if we're not careful, collectively, all these tug-of-wars could end up destroying us. Take the case of our honourable members in the august House. No sooner had Parliament reopened this week after a 4-week break than already there was what can only be described as a mutiny, a rebellion, where members selfishly and arrogantly rejected names submitted for those who will become the key drivers of the Constitution implementation process. PNU's affiliate parties started complaining of not being consulted, and all hell broke loose, rendering the so-called speedy implementation in disarray. And the baby that was born on August the 4th and promulgated on August the 27th is now back in ICU. Translation: if things continue as they are, we're in for a rough ride all the way to 2012, which could only spell doom and gloom for the new democracy.
War is a terrible experience, and I don't think anybody should wish it happens to them. And we who have gone through it, it is our prayers that no other country, not even Kenya, will go through it. And how does war begins? The smaller things, the little things that we overlook, those triggers are the ones that lead to full-scale warfare.
Take it from a man who knows a thing or two about war. Jerome Verdier was just 12 years old when Liberia first started to spiral into anarchy back in 1980. 30 years and 250,000 lives lost, Liberia is today a broken country trying to come to terms with its grotesquely horrible past.
It's difficult now after many years to describe what really happened because it was a living hell, like you said. But thank God we're alive, thank God we survived, and we are looking forward to a better future perhaps.
So, as our honourable members are busy engaged in a tug-of-war over who should be in charge, another tug-of-war was playing itself out between two potential rivals for the presidency. The Prime Minister, on the one hand, and the woman affectionately known as the Iron Lady. The Iron Lady wondered out loud why some individuals were still serving in the cabinet despite being accused in court of criminal offences. And to add salt to this wound she'd just opened, she quickly referred to Higher Education Minister William Ruto as one of the so-called culprits. The Prime Minister lashed back, accusing the Iron Lady of double standards, saying it was an open secret that one of her own party members, recently elected, had a known criminal record and had even served time at the Committee Maximum Prison. He was, of course, referring to the man simply known as Sonko. Instead of thinking country first and everything else second, these two leaders instead began to engage in a war of words and a tug-of-war. Yet another tug-of-war played itself out this past week, this time concerning a bank that had been forced to close down back in 2006 after a thorough investigation done by, among others, a senior official at the central bank who recommended that Charterhouse Bank be immediately closed and all the assets, $18 billion worth, frozen due to money laundering and fraud and abuse of banking laws. 4 years later, that same senior official at the central bank is now a senior commissioner at the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, and he's just recommended that the same bank he helped shut down be reopened. And to make matters worse, someone somehow convinced the finance minister that it was in his best interest to have Charterhouse Bank reopened.
I wanted to still be very clear that as the Treasury, we cannot direct any of those bodies to do that which we have no power in the law. But we can bring them together, and that we are more than willing to do.
Luckily, one man wasn't sleeping on the job. U.S. Ambassador Michael Ranneberger wasted no time insisting Charterhouse Bank had to remain closed, and went a step further, calling for the arrest and prosecution of those accused of money laundering and contravening the country's banking laws.
Clearly, there was a forensic audit done on Charterhouse Bank. It is this thick. It is this thick. It contains extensive information. So no responsible official can say that there's no evidence. The Kenyan government has all of that information, and so does the Kenyan Anti-Corruption Commission.
A tug of war between the United States government and ours. I wonder who would win in this one-sided contest. And while we're pushing and shoving and tugging back and forth, let's not forget that yet another tug of war looms between the government and one Luis Moreno Ocampo. And when it comes to pushing and shoving, this man usually gets what he wants, or more precisely, who he wants. What's it going to take for us to realize just how delicate a situation we're putting ourselves in? Whatever happened to country first, everything else second?
There were times some people said, oh, let the rebels come. We're tired with this man.
Yeah.
This man is a dictator and all of that. But people had no idea what war is.
Yeah.
Where Liberians are is an experience we pray that no other African country will go through.
Something tells me we are a lot like Liberia and Liberians. Namely, that we never know what we have until we lose it. And by then, it's too late. I wish someone out there could be so bold as to prove me wrong. This is Jeff Koinange for Three Sides of a Coin.